Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the ranch. I'm Dr. Lee, and it is, as you can see, another beautiful day in South Texas. It's about 70 degrees outside today. Nice day. A little bit of breeze blowing and a cloud cover, and you can see by that right there, we may have a little bit too much cloud cover. I just checked the radar and we've got a storm system coming through. It's been pretty stormy here for the last 2 to 3 weeks. We've had over 10 inches of rain, and I just felt a little rain on my elbow just now. And but we've had a lot of rain. The grasses are green. Ranch is doing great. But anyway, life's going good around here. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope the weather's good where you are. This is going to be another weird video. How many times have I started a video with that phrase? But here we go again. But anyway, a tale of 2 trees. Actually, it's a tale of 4 trees, and I'm standing on one of them as we speak, or I'm standing on the remnants of it actually. And to tell you where we are right now, the little shack where my band has practice is about 75 feet that way. There's thunder. About 75 feet right over there is where we have band practice every Thursday night. And years ago, 20 years ago, our drummer, a good buddy of mine, Richard, he was leaving band practice. He backed out and he backed his truck into this crappy little tree that used to be here. And the next week at practice, he said, "Lee," he said, "how many trees do you have on this ranch?" And I said, "I don't know, Richard. Why would you ask a question like that?" And he said, "Do you have 100? And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You got 1,000? And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Do you have 1,000,000? And I said, "I have no clue." I said, "Where are you going with this?" And he said, "All these beautiful trees you have out here." And he said, "And yet you leave that one little scraggy one that I backed my pickup into the other day, a little scraggly one." And he said, "Why don't you cut it down?" And I said, "Well, Richard, that tree is old, it's ugly, it's in the way, and nobody loves it." And I said, "It reminds me of me." And so Richard and I, we always kind of went back. I mean, I love him dearly and still do to this day. We're still very good friends. But he was a Hispanic guy, and he always called me white trash, and I would call him, weird Hispanic, names that you shouldn't really say to people. And after I told him I was not going to cut this tree down, he would intentionally, and he did this for 10 years, when he was leaving at night, he would back over here and he would back into this tree intentionally with his truck, hit it with a bumper, and then he would holler like, "Where did that come from?" He'd do that kind of thing. And then he would leave, he would drive off this way, and he would stick his arm out the window with a certain finger elevated and holler white trash type curse words at me. And I would pick up rocks and I would throw him, and I would hit his old truck with my rocks, and I would scream, "Remember the Alamo," as he was leaving. And that's what we did for 10 years. And like I said, he is a brother to me. I love the man dearly, and he loves me as well, and we're still great friends. But for 10 years we did that after Richard backed into this thing and made that comment about I needed to cut this tree down. That was the last thing I was going to do. So I waited, and Richard's life situation changed, and he needed to quit the band around 2010. The day after he left, or a few days after he left, I came out here with a chainsaw and I cut the tree down, took a picture of it, and I sent it to him, and he sent me back some of those same choice words that we usually hollered at each other at the end of the night after band practice. But nevertheless, I digress. My goodness, looks like here we go again. First story, I'm already rambling. It was Richard's words on how many trees, his question, how many trees do you have out here? Well, here's an aerial view of part of the ranch, and you can see we do have some nice pastures, but there's also a ton of trees. And over the years, I've noticed out of all these trees, and most of them are of 2 or 3 different types. There's not a giant variety of trees out here. A lot of trees, but they're all basically the same kind of trees. But I noticed this one tree in particular down by the creek. it's a pecan tree, and I noticed that there were a bunch of axis deer always hanging by it, and they would reach up and eat the leaves off of it. My buddy and I, my oldest grandchild, if you will, we would go out walking down these little trails, and I'd pass this tree every time, and it had a camera set up right across the trail from it so that we could see what was going on. So I noticed that right there, and that was the first time I noticed deer paying particular attention to particular trees. And with that in the back of my head, every time I'd go out and collect the game cards, and right now I've got 9 cameras going. I've always had at least 6 going. And what I noticed over the years is the white-tailed deer and a few axis love one particular live oak tree on this ranch, and they come to it every night. Most of these videos that I took, most of these videos you're watching right now were taken within a 2 or 3 month period. But every night there's videos of deer chewing on this tree. I have no clue what the attraction is on this tree to those deer. But most of them that visit are white-tailed deer. Most of them are bucks. And you'll see them not only coming and munching on the tree, but you'll also see them marking their territory there. So they're claiming that particular tree as theirs. And you know, it's one thing that they come and munch on this tree, but what you have to realize is that they're risking their lives coming here because there's a lot of predators in the area. And you know, predators such as big cats, and also the coyotes, a lot of coyotes up there, and also the occasional killer bunny. Yeah, you might laugh. This is our little bud that I was telling you about in the last video that comes out here. He watches the sunrise and the sunsets, but he is also what we call a killer bunny. You can see him in action right here. And yeah, you might laugh, but so did these guys.
Look! Jesus Christ!
Okay, and now for something completely different, right? Right, for you Python fans out there. That was tree number 1 of the tale of 2 trees. Tree number 2 is a yaupon tree. The scientific name for it is called Ilex vomitoria. And when I was in college, we used to eat at a cafeteria. We called it a vomiteria, but this is completely different. It's kind of different, but it's kind of the same too, because there's a lot of caffeine in this particular plant, and if people eat a lot of it, it'll give them vomiting and diarrhea syndrome. So I guess that's where it got its name. A lot of Indians used to use it in rituals and such, but best avoided unless you really need to. In the Civil War, the soldiers actually used it to make a strong tea. And I guess if they, well, we won't go any further there. Well, tree number 2 here, this yaupon tree, very similar to tree number 1, which was a live oak tree, attracts animals to come munch on its soft and supple leaves. However, like I said, with the extra caffeine, I guess it does have a little bit of extra kick. But we do see more than any other tree on the ranch, except for tree number 1, we do see on this particular game camera deer chewing on this thing all the time. But it attracts other animals as well, not just the deer that come and sample the leaves, but also raccoons just make a haven out of this tree, and especially baby raccoons. You can see in this clip right here, there's 3 baby raccoons, one on the ground reaching up, pulling the limbs down, one right above him, and then one further up in the tree. And not just raccoons, it's common. Here's a little fox. It's common to get pictures of little foxes up in this tree too. And not only is it good for munching on the leaves, being a jungle gym for baby raccoons, but it also serves as a masseuse for some of our larger critters on the ranch as well. And also, from this very same camera that takes the videos of tree number 2, over these several days that I was gathering these videos to make this little video for you, I noticed there were a bunch of noises, sound like somebody hammering on the camera, And and here it is right here. Here's the sample of a noise. Speaking of noise, here comes a whiny cat. Hey, Frank. But this repeated noise just kept on and on and on. And finally, I got a picture of our culprit that was making all this racket. And yes, this is a female ladder-back woodpecker, and she evidently was over there banging on the camera. This is her in tree number 2 right here, and that's how I figured out who it was. But anyway, it's very, very common woodpecker around here. The males have real colorful heads, and the females are all have this dark camouflage color so they can hide in the nest with the babies. But anyway, we see those knuckleheads all over the place. It's just weird when you have one that comes and bangs on your camera like she did. I guess it looked like it had worms in it. And finally, folks, going through these videos today, I ran across this video right here. And 2 years ago, it would have gone straight to the recycle bin. But now it's precious as precious can be. You know, it's Mark, and he is texting and driving. But I don't have a clue what he was doing. This particular camera is set up all the way at the back of the ranch. I don't know what he was doing back there on that tractor. He's not dragging a plow or a blade or a shredder or anything. He's just, I guess he was just out cruising. Anyway, this is one of those things where 2 years ago this would have meant nothing to me, and now it's a precious video to me. And I'm thankful for it. And you know, I've come to, you know, after losing Mark and all, I've come to realize that what I need to be cognizant of is that I need to be thankful for having him the time that we had him. God doesn't give us things and promise us that we will have them forever, and including our children, including our parents, including our brothers and sisters. And so many of us have learned that the hard way. But we should be thankful for what we have while we have it. Thankfulness or gratitude transforms what we have into what we need. If you realize, if you just stop for a minute, you know, I'm the world's worst at thinking, well, I'd like to have this, or I'd like to have a new one of these. But if you just stop and think, everything that I have right here, I'm very, very thankful to have it. And when I really think about that, I realize it's all I need. Honestly, it's more than I need. Thankfulness transforms what you have into what you need and more. So remember that. Also, what I've also found out is when you're thankful, our old buddy kindness tends to hang around a lot more commonly. Well, guys, that's about it from out here on the ranch today. Going to try to get in before it starts raining. I hope you guys have been doing well. I hope the weather's good where you are, and I hope you're surviving all of this dang COVID-19 stuff. It's hard, and we're all being, you know, released back on society, so be careful because it's still there. Thanks again for stopping by and visiting with me today. I always enjoy your visits. I always enjoy the kind things, the messages and all that you leave down there, and the way you take care of one another. So guys, like I said, that's it from out here on the ranch. Be kind, be thankful, and always remember I love you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Frankie, down. Hey. Frank, where you going? Where you going? Look at that hair. So what you doing there, Al?
Neutering a dog, Dad.
All right. Who's gonna learn you?
That's a mistake.